Repurchase agreement, repo, is short-term instrument to sell money market instrument, commonly securities, and agree to buy back at a higher price in the future date or on demand. Although the sales of asset had done in repo, but due to the seller had agreed to repurchase the asset act more like a collateral in repo trading, and the buyer will earn interest named as repo interest. Repo was a popular instrument in money market used as short-term financing tools. Repo's characteristic as high liquid and quality help investor to obtain short-term fund in a short time. Repo is commonly used by central bank to manage money supply, especially in open market operations. For example, Bank Negara Malaysia can sell T-bills or BNM bonds and agree to repurchase back in future to reduce the amount of money in market and vice versa. Repurchase agreement could also be set as a loan with money market papers as collateral. Repurchase agreement is created when sell securities to another party, at the same time promise to purchase back the securities at a repo rate at future time or on demand. At the purchase date, buyer will place the surplus fund, and as a return seller will pledge securities. On the maturity dates, seller will return principal plus interest that agreed by two parties before, and buyer will return the security. Parties who involved in repurchase agreement is buyer and seller. Seller will sell its securities with agreement to purchase it at a future date in order to get funds, while buyer will buy the securities and will sell back to the buyer at a future date. Traditionally, seller of repo made up of securities market intermediaries such as securities dealer and investment bank, and investor who want to raise short-term fund. For buyer's sides, usually cash investor with surplus funds who is seeking for high short-term investment with less risk. Even though repo is considered as secured instrument, but risk is still existed to each parties of the repo participants. One of the risks associated with repo is counterparty default. Counterparty default happen when one of the parties failed to return cash or securities on the repurchase date. This means that seller failed to buy back or the buyer failed to sell the securities to the seller on the repurchase date. Others than that, parties who involved in repo transaction may face market risk. This is the risk that the value of financial instrument will change according to market price movements. For instance, when market interest rate increase, margining will help to reduce buyer risk. On the other side, seller is still exposed to this risk because it will mark loss on its balance sheet during repo's life. The market value of the securities is calculated at its dirty price, not clean price, which is included accrued interest.